Watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to the Thursday edition of the program. Glad you're along for the ride. It's Pod Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Got a lot to talk about today. We'll be joined here momentarily by our college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter, Brent Beaird. You can follow Brent on Twitter at Brent Beaird. I'm going to do my Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. My picks for the BMW Championship. The FedEx playoffs on the PGA Tour continue. I'd like to get people's thoughts also. I know a lot of people aren't golf fans, but Patrick Reed is suing the Golf Channel and Brandon Chambly, one of their commentators, because they've hurt his feelings over the past few years. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I don't know anybody that likes Patrick Reed, quite honestly. He was kicked out of one of his colleges for cheating. He's been caught cheating on the PGA Tour. I just do not care for him, quite honestly. But enough of that. We'll talk about it later. We'll get your text. You can shoot us text or comments or questions for Brent on the Titan More Hotline or Facebook Live, brought to you by Melton Law. We got NFL preseason tonight as well, I think. Let me look it up real quick. But it's Thursday night. Yeah, we got one game. We got the Bears, traveling out to play Seattle. There's nothing worse than playing having to travel that far for a preseason game. All right, let's go to the Titan More Hotline. We kept him waiting way too long talking about nonsense with this golf. Joe says here, Reed is a disgrace. I agree. Good morning, Brent. How are you, my man?
Shane, good morning to you, as we are a few days away from some really important scrimmages all around the SEC and college football. And next week, of course, we are in, believe it or not, week 0. So Vandy will be playing, Florida State will be playing, Utah State that plays Alabama will be playing. They've got a Big Ten game over in Dublin that maybe Shane and I ought to get credentials and go over there and watch that a little bit. So, but look, well, we can get to this point to where we are very close, and we're very happy about that.
There's no question about it. It is right around the corner. Brent, before we jump into college football, you've been in the media a long time, and I don't know if you're familiar with what Patrick Reed did or his lawsuit. Have you heard about that?
I mean, I've seen it on Twitter, but frankly, I don't know a lot of the details.
He's basically saying for the last 10 years or so that commentators, Brandel Chambly, who's at the Golf Channel, all those guys have been making negative remarks and hurt his feelings and called him a cheater and all. Well, he's been caught cheating academically and on the golf course. I've just never heard. I mean, as an athlete, you're going to get bashed by media folks in your career, and you just got to live with it. So it's totally ridiculous in my opinion. But enough of that. Before we jump into college football, Andy says on Facebook Live, Ben Shelton, a big win over the #5 player in the world. Yes, Ben Shelton. I don't know if he's still considered, if he's playing as an amateur, if he's coming back, or if he's declared to go pro. I don't really know. Haven't followed it. Brent, let's jump into it. College football. A bunch of the big wigs got together trying to figure out how to not save it, but how to get this thing organized. Can you give us a little thumbnail of what's going on?
Yeah, that may be a good word, is save it. Now, again, this is very preliminary, but this came out yesterday, but there are 11 college presidents and chancellors who make up the College Football Playoffs Board of Managers. That's probably a fancy term for having this group. They met by Zoom, and one of the things they discussed is how to restructure college football outside of the NCAA. Now, we have heard this discussed more and more over the last few months, and eventually this is probably coming. But the most logical place for this to happen maybe under this college football playoff committee, they oversee the postseason playoff and then a few of the marquee bowl games. Now, we need to put this in perspective because they really only talked about it for about 5 minutes. So what can you do in 5 minutes? But the significant thing is they actually brought this up and they actually discussed it. Now, what comes from this, they'll have future conversations about it. The real significant thing that came out of this is that they actually talked about the college football playoff and could they put the college football playoff into effect before the current contract runs out. Contract has 4 years remaining and runs out in 2025. And I know this will shock you, Shane, but money always comes into the conversation here. And I'm going to read this this sentence from the Pete Thamel article. A source told ESPN that the general feeling among the presidents and chancellors on the call was that college sports leaders have left too much money on the table by not implementing a new playoff before 2026 for half as much as $500 million. Well, I can tell you it's probably more than that. Now, the interesting thing here is, without belaboring the point, a lot of the problems they had last time when they thought they had this set up, as you remember, Greg Sankey and his committee actually had this 12-team playoff pretty much ready to go, and then it was torpedoed by Big Ten, Big 12, ACC, Pac-12, and primarily because they were mad at Sankey and his committee, and particularly Sankey, because Oklahoma and Texas were leaving and going to the SEC. Now, there's still a lot of work to be done on this, but there's no reason why they can't get this playoff up and going before this contract ends. That needs to happen. That's something that is going to be very important. So, in essence, the restructuring got a lot of attention, but what should have got more attention was what they discussed about the playoffs and the possibility of implementing before the contract runs out, which they really have got to do.
Brent, I think you mentioned it, and I was reading some text. The people that met about this were college presidents?
Yes, college presidents and chancellors.
Okay. See, I have a problem with that. I ain't real smart when it comes to a lot of things. There's only a few things I feel like I'm smart at. But I feel like the people that should be involved in making these decisions should be athletic directors.
Yes.
Not presidents and chancellors that really don't know sports. They're worried about their graduation rates and running their institutions. I mean, that's just my opinion. Maybe I'm a moron, but
no. Look, I think there's something to that, and I've agreed with that for years. Oftentimes, you've got presidents and chancellors who, in their own world, are really good, but when it comes to athletics, some of these guys and women don't know the difference between a football and a baseball. I mean, that's just the reality of it. So I'm with you. Coaches, athletic directors, and I would even say a player representative group need to be involved with all of this and all these decisions. But see, here's the reality, and this also goes into effect with college conference expansion, and we say this over and over again, and it bears repeating, is whether we like it or not, well, frankly, we don't, but that's the way it is. The college presidents and chancellors are the ones who eventually make these decisions. So, we agree that they should be a part of it, Shane, but not make the entire decision. So, with you totally on that. More input from these others, like ADs and coaches, have got to be involved.
Yeah, we got a couple of texts here on the Titan Mark text line. This is Ryan. He says, "Good morning, fellas. Shane, I couldn't agree with you more on your analysis of Giselle the other day. Not that she cares about my opinion, seeing how Tommy has 10 inches and 200 million on me, but I just don't get it. I need a gal that ain't afraid of some wings, ribs, and banana pudding." Well, Tommy don't like wings, ribs, and banana pudding either, Ryan. But he says, "I just hope Tommy will just check out this season and let Kyle Trask take over." Appreciate the text. This is from Daryl. He says, "Good morning, guys. Brent, I see Chris Doering is showing a lot of love to Kentucky, only having them lose one game, and that's to Tennessee. How do you feel about Kentucky this year?"
Well, I like Kentucky, and I think they may be on board for at least maybe a 10-win season. I don't know if it's just going to be one loss, but again, the thing with Kentucky that we really don't have an answer to yet is what about Chris Rodriguez, the running back that has gained or as possible that he's capable of gaining 1,000 yards in any season. So whether or not he plays, Shane, is going to be it's going to be crucial. He had I believe it was a DUI in May, and I know they'll work through that, and I'm not being mysterious here, but there's a lot that is not being said about this, so I don't know what else is involved about him not playing. But again, I can't emphasize enough how important this Kentucky at Florida game is on September the 10th for both those teams.
That is so true. We just got another text here on the Titan Mark text line. A question for you, Brent. They love sending these texts for you. Comes from John. He said, "I've heard other conference commissioners don't like one network owning all the rights to the playoff. With ESPN having SEC and Fox having Big Ten games, do you see a deal where it's a 12-game playoff and both Fox and ESPN have the rights to the college football playoff games?"
I think that's part of what the all these TV rights are doing. And that answers his question, yes, I could see that happening. Maybe you may have a situation, and look, I don't know, but I'm just throwing out an example here. You may have a situation where one network has some of the first and second round games, and then another network gets, let's just say, the Final Four and the championship games. That's going to be fascinating about how they figure that out. And to go along with that, the Big Ten, we thought it would by now. They've still not done the deal on their media rights, which we understand is going to be anywhere between, oh Lord, $1 billion and $1.5 billion. So that's a lot of money, isn't it, Shane? So so they're trying to figure that out, and that's a really astute question because I would not be at all surprised if not only do we see that, and we're going to see the day, Shane, to where we're going to have a playoff game on one of these streaming sites. That's coming up too. Case in point, Notre Dame has another game this year. They did this last year. It's on Peacock. And the only way you can watch that Notre Dame game is if you have a subscription to Peacock. So my question to you is, theoretically, Shane, will the day come to where the only way we're going to be able to watch a playoff game is on something like Peacock or Amazon or Apple?
And I'm screwed if that happens. John says here on Facebook Live, and he brings up a pretty good point. He says Rodriguez from Kentucky probably won't be suspended or anything until after the UF game. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know who Kentucky plays week 1, but it's probably like Eastern
Miami of
Kentucky,
Ohio.
Miami of Ohio. I bet he's suspended for that game, and he'll suit up and play against the Gators. That's just my guess.
Yeah. Probably. Oh, yeah. Sure.
Brent, the preseason poll came out, the AP poll. I mean, obviously people have seen it, but I'm looking here at the SEC teams where they're ranked.
Yes.
And it is just mind-blowing where the Gators are ranked in the AP poll.
Well, and what Shane's talking about is we knew Bama and Georgia would be high, and they are. And then a lot of the SEC teams, and A&M is in there too. They're at number 6. By the way, Utah at 7. Utah is in every publication and every poll. Utah is a top 10 team, so just keep that in mind. Also, 19 is Arkansas, 20 is Kentucky. Ole Miss is 21 with that. Also, others are receiving votes. I mean, you've got Florida at 37, Auburn's at 36, Mississippi State's at 35, LSU's 30. So you're right about that. Now, two things with this that just blows your mind. LSU is not ranked in the preseason AP poll for the first time since 2000. 2000.
Mm-hmm.
At Florida and Florida State are unranked in the AP poll for the first time since 1974. That blows your mind too, frankly. But again, keep in mind these are polls. We have a guide. All this will change, but it certainly gives us something to talk about early on.
Yeah, and you can pretty much, they say here in the notes that you pretty much can name who the national champ's going to be. You know, that's what's so crazy, and I think that's why we need to expand the playoffs, and it still may not do anything. But, you know, in college basketball, when March Madness rolls around, you really have no idea. I mean, I can give you I bet I can predict right now the 4-team playoff that we're going to see in January right now.
Sure.
Because it's the same teams year in and year out.
Well, when you expand the playoffs, and we've said 12, there's talk, people need to be aware, there's talk recently of even doing it at 16. So what Shane's saying is a good point. We're probably going to end up with the same teams most years. But like the NCAA tournament, if you don't expand it, you never know when a team can have an off day, even if they play at home, make five turnovers, and end up losing the game. So that, and to me, expanding the playoffs always have been about accessibility, and that's why it was so insane that the ACC and the Pac-12 voted against this 12-team playoff that we talked about a few minutes ago. That came from Greg Sankey and his committee, because frankly, if you don't expand the playoffs, besides Clemson in the ACC and the Pac-12, they're not getting anybody in the playoff. So why you turn that down is just sheer insanity, frankly. So that's why, and Shane's right. If you expand it, Shane, and you play on all levels on any given day, anything can happen, right?
Yep, no doubt about it. Are you in the market to buy or sell your home? Doreen Weeby, a realtor with Caldwell Banker M.M. Parrish, will provide you with fast, friendly, reliable service. Give her a call today at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. Speaking with Brent Beaird, a college football analyst, on the Titan More Hotline, we're going to read this text on the Titan More text line. It says, Patrick Reed needs a binky. I agree. With NIL and now trying to move away from the NCAA, what does college football look like in 10 years? So many changes. Yeah, it's crazy. There's no question about that.
It is.
Brent, let's jump down to, this week you've been having a power poll, you and Matt Hayes, for all summer long. We're getting close to the power polls being done since games will start. But it's talking about the awards out there where, certain players from certain schools in the SEC may be up for those awards.
Yeah, there's some really tremendous talent in here. For instance, Bryce Young likely will be up again for the Heisman, and Maxwell and the O'Brien. Jalen Carter, and this is one of the reasons Georgia's defense won't tail off very much, up for the Outland and the Lombardi. Antonio Johnson up for the Thorpe. He's cornerback. Will Levis at Kentucky for the Unitas Award. Wide receiver. And I learned something yesterday. We've been calling Kayshon Boutte. Well, they actually asked him in the press conference yesterday, how do you pronounce your last name? And Kayshon said it's Booty. You remember, like General Booty? And the quarterbacks we had years ago, he actually pronounced it. Yes, Josh Booty. Yeah, so it's actually not Booty, but it's Booty. So I don't know where
Booty sounds more Cajun. I mean, it
French. It does, absolutely. But by the way, he'd be up for the Blitnikoff. Florida, Ventrell Miller, and I agree with this, it would be up for the Butkus. I thought Ventrell Miller coming back from injury is one of the most important players in Florida's team in general. So won't go into all of them because of time, but those are just a few of the likely candidates for some of these awards.
Yeah, no doubt. It was I saw where Tony Barnhart is no longer part of the SEC network. Were you surprised with that?
Yes. Well, yeah. I mean, put it this way: yes and no. Tony had a minor role, or his role was being reduced. He took the high road. Thanked everybody for allowing him to be on. He substituted for Paul Feinbaum from time to time. Now, Tony's been covering football 46 years this year. My problem with this is, look, I get the hiring the former players in their new suits and their shoes and all that. But look, Shane, at some point, you've got to have guys who have covered the game for years. I'm just telling you what Tony Barnhart has forgot more than all these guys on the network who are former players, will ever know. So my point is, and I'm not saying get rid of the players. All I'm saying is you've got to have someone like Tony, and hopefully he'll get hired again for TV. He really is good. Hopefully he will get a job because that experience and his point of reference in college football is incredibly important, and I was just sad to see that happen.
Yeah, he will be hired by somebody. John has a question for you, Brent, here on the Tagnamore text line. Brent, when you look at the season, which week has the best slate of games? Also, what is the best non-conference game that you are looking forward to?
Oh, I'll make that easy. Florida and Utah, I think, is maybe the most important non-conference game. I mean, Bama and Texas will get a lot of attention. Alabama will win that game with 3 or 4 touchdowns. Georgia and Oregon would get a lot of attention. And Georgia win that game. It's a home game in Atlanta. There are a lot of interesting scenarios there with Dan Lanning coming back and also Bo Nix. That'll be interesting. Notre Dame, Ohio State is a big game. But the reality is Ohio State is much better than Notre Dame. I mean, Freeman's done a good job at Notre Dame. Am I wrong here, Shane? But Ohio State, particularly at quarterback and so forth, is significantly better than Notre Dame is. I'm not saying they won't be good by the end of the year. And Notre Dame's had some major injuries that we'll get into. But look at, I won't go into all the games, but look at October 1. That's one of them, particularly in the SEC. October 1 has some of the best games of the whole year.
Yeah, I think Ohio State is just going to annihilate Notre Dame for some reason.
Yes.
I don't know why. I just have that feeling. John says, Brent QB, since we were 16 days away, who's the best to wear number 16? I thought we were 17. I count today. So we're 17 days away. Is that right? And the best 17. Yeah, so I'm going to count today, John. Sorry. Tomorrow will be 16. The best 17, I believe, right off the top of my head, Riche Caldwell.
You can make that argument, sure.
I think he was 17, but hell, he was ridiculous.
He was.
I want to say Rex was his quarterback. I can't remember though. They all run together because Coach Spurrier had so many damn receivers year in and year out. It was crazy how many he had. Brent, let's jump into the SEC. Alabama. What's going on up in Tuscaloosa? They have any significant injuries or anything that could hurt them starting the year?
Eli Ricks, the LSU transfer, played in the scrimmage on Saturday, but he hurt his back. Not sure what is going on there and how long that would take for him to get back on the field. But they've got a big scrimmage on Saturday like everyone else did. Kobe Prentice, one of their wide receivers, one of the young guys, played very well. Kyrie Jackson in the secondary has a groin injury, so they've got to get him healthy. Also, they've got a guy, or they did. His last name is Anoma. He was one of the better defensive linemen anywhere. Well, he went from Alabama to Houston and then to Tennessee Martin, and now he's back into the transfer portal. Now, he's got some issues. I won't go into all that, but hopefully he will land on his feet. But guys who continually transfer, I mean, this is going to be about the fourth or fifth time for him. Hopefully he'll settle down at some point. Saban's also very happy with Jaheim Otis and Tim Smith on the defensive line. Otis came in about 450 pounds, and he's now in the 300s. It's always been amusing when some of these guys who in the 400s, their teammates start calling them slim once they get in the 300s. But that's an amazing job of these strength and conditioning people.
Yeah, in today's world, it's just mind blowing the stuff that they do. Maybe they could have helped me gain weight back in the day instead of me having to play at 175. Speaking of that, I don't know why it just came to mind. You know, Bryce Young, Heisman Trophy winner. I think he's an elite thrower of the football, but he ain't. There is no way he's 5'10". I bet he's 5'9" and 185 pounds. Has there been any talk coming out of Tuscaloosa about him trying to? Obviously, he can't get any taller, but putting a little bit of muscle on. I'm sure he has with their strength staff.
That's a great point. I think they're trying to do that. And look, I've been near him, and I can tell you, I mean, Nick Saban's probably maybe 5'7", and that may be generous. And Bryce is not much taller than Nick Saban. But you're right. He is. I'm not going to say he's frail. I mean,
he's frail.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think he's stronger than he looks. But your point's a good one. And see, he was sacked basically 40 times last year, and he's a tough kid. And I think they'll protect him better this year because the offensive line is going to be better. But that's a real point because you've got these behemoths now at quarterback. You know, like Richardson at Florida, who are well over 6 feet, and they're around 250 pounds. And then you've got Bryce, who is what, Shane, maybe, is probably realistically 5'8" or 5'9", and won't see 200 pounds. So at least not right now. But it's still amazing what these guys can do. Look, he's got good legs, as you've always attested how important that is, and he's accurate. And if you're a quarterback and you know what to do with your legs, and you can accurately throw the ball, you can play anywhere.
Yep. You know, it would be interesting. People would realize how small he is if Alabama actually got in a huddle. If they huddled up, you would see how small he is. And
That's a good point.
And if people watch the Heisman Trophy ceremony, you could tell how small he was. But it's amazing how he can see the field at his height, because I'm telling you, with those big 6'4", 6'5", some offensive linemen are 6'7", 6'8" now. It's crazy. We got a couple of Facebook Lives. Greg says Caldwell played from 98 to 2001. So, yeah, Rex was his guy. Troy, wasn't Riche also known as Bubba, or was that a different player? Different player. Bubba Caldwell was Andre Caldwell. Riche, Bubba was Andre. Riche was the older brother, I think. I can't remember. I'll lose track. All right, let's move to the Hogs. What's going on up in Fayetteville?
Well, they have got not one but two quarterbacks. We know what KJ Jefferson's the starter. We know that. And speaking of behemoths, he is too. and he actually lost about 10 pounds to help him this year. The other guy they really like is Malik Hornsby. Malik Hornsby is actually been moved to wide receiver. So I guess they're taking a chance on him getting hurt, and heaven forbid if Jefferson got hurt and he got hurt. But the point is that they were talking this week that with Malik Hornsby on the field at the same time as KJ Jefferson, that they made the point of when two quarterbacks on the field, you don't know what's going on. So I'm sure they're probably, I mean, can't you imagine they're working on some kind of double pass chain where they can use that at some point this year? So that, at least it's something good to talk about for the media.
Yeah. Lauren says, appreciate it, Lauren. Riche is the younger brother of Andre. I thought Andre was the younger. Oh, yeah. Riche's the older one. Andre came, and Andre was here, I think, when Zook was here. All right, let's get to the Auburn Tigers. I don't know what it is. I don't know why I even think this, Brent. I think Auburn's going to surprise some people this year. I have no reason to even why I'm even thinking that, but for some reason I do. What's going on with the Tigers?
I can tell you why. Is because they may be better on the line of scrimmage than we think they are. Their offensive line is I think going to be much better. Obviously, they've got Tank Bigsby. They've got one of the better running games in the league. Still not found a quarterback. T.J. Finley, Robbie Ashford, Zach Calzada probably will play all three of them early on. That they've got two gimmies before they play Penn State at home. And the big thing they're trying to do is develop a deep defensive line. They're trying to go 8 to 10 deep. Not sure they can get there. They've had a lot of guys leave the program. Now, the defensive line coach at Auburn is Jimmy Brumbaugh. Jimmy Brumbaugh, if that's a familiar name, has been around the league. He played at Auburn. I actually covered him for the Times Union here in Jacksonville when he played at Keystone Heights.
Yeah.
So people were wondering why the name's familiar. That's why. He was one of the greatest athletes to ever come out of Keystone Heights. Just amazing guy. But to your point, and again, Shane, they play their first 5 games at home. Now, that's going to catch up with them later on the year. You can debate the wisdom of that, but they'll get off to a pretty good start. But again, that Penn State game for them is critical.
That is true. I forgot. But they get Penn State at home, which is a good thing. Ruzoga State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call, 352-240-1779. Speaking with Brent Beaird on the Titan More Hotline. All right, let's talk about the Gators. A lot of momentum on the recruiting trail this past weekend. Moving to our facility. A lot of good things happening. That facility may not pay dividends this year, but it will in the future.
It will. There's no doubt. And as Shane and I have talked about, people will have patience with Billy Napier. He's got a really good plan. He knows what he's doing, and all this is going to come to fruition. It may not in the first year, but if they'll be patient. Now, this is important for Gator fans. Notre Dame had a decommitment. Most fans probably know this, but a kid named Keon Keeley is from Tampa Berkeley Prep. He's a 5-star. He committed to Notre Dame in June of 2021. Well, he's 6'6", 245, and he also has visited Alabama and Florida. So the logic here is, could he be involved with both Alabama and Florida again? And that's probably a possibility. So just keep that on your radar. Now, I know this is insignificant, but I've listened to Shane long enough to understand how the small things matter. Now, the way they've reconstructed their football buildings, they're estimating that the walk to the practice field used to take, this is amazing, used to take 18 minutes each way. the just open facility saves them, and someone added this up. I give Matt Baker credit for this. 63 hours in walking from the building, from the practice in the stadium. Now, I know this is minutia, Shane, but coaches, and this is typical of Napier. This is one of those things that he doesn't get enough credit for. Now, you've done this all your life, and I know this seems like a small thing, but why do I think that's significant? I really think this. The more time you save, the better you're going to be.
Well, not only that, but it's it's meetings. Having your meeting room down the hall. You get out of your meeting, you're 5 to 6 steps away from getting dressed. Then you're 5 or 6 steps away from walking out onto the practice field. People kind of laugh at, well, these are athletes and we won national championships walking to and from the stadium to the practice. That's fine. But even when bad weather came, they would have to call a bus to get them to the indoor. Now you just walk into one door and you're there. So
yeah,
I've been preaching it, Brent, for 10, 12 years because, look, I mean, we are in 2022 and we're like the last team in the world to get an indoor football, a standalone football facility.
Right.
Think about that.
Right. Sure.
Everybody in the SEC, the Big 10, the Big 12 has had these. I think Alabama built theirs maybe year 2 or year 3 of Saban, which was in 2009. Think about that. That's 13 years ago. And that's how far we have been behind when it comes to these amenities. And I was telling somebody the other day, and I was talking to a couple other former players when we kind of walked through it the other day. We remember the days when we took our mesh bag with our socks, jock, and T-shirt that the managers used to wash, wad it up, put it on the floor of your locker, and lay on the floor to take a nap, for 10, 15 minutes. Now they got these unbelievable chairs that turn into beds, so I've had people that didn't play athletics that text me and go, do we really need this? $90 million, blah, blah. I'm like, look, folks, y'all have no idea. You're the ones sitting in the stands or at the bar bitching about the Gators not winning.
Yeah.
When everybody else has this, we have to have it, especially when it comes to recruiting. So kudos to every human being that had a part of that building.
Yes.
And here's what I tell other people too. It's wonderful, but it's outdated already. So we'll be adding on in a couple of years.
And let me say this real quick too. And I know schools are pretty careful about this, but don't think that this is not a part of the thinking here. The more you can keep your athletes in-house, the more you can keep them away from people like agents who are hanging around trying to develop a relationship and develop a deal with them. So I know these are things that a lot of fans don't think about, but Shane, by having your team, and it builds cohesion and all that, but some of this is keeping them away from people that the coaches don't want them dealing with.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I don't know how ours is going to work, but I remember when I was up at Clemson, like in 2015, 16, somewhere around there, and spent the entire day with Dabo, sitting in his office, telling us about touring it. And those kids had access to that building 24 hours a day, no matter when, because they could go in it. And, obviously the dining hall's not open at 2 a.m. or whatever, but they have these refrigerators with all kinds of stuff for you to eat. I mean, it's just, you can go in there and wash your clothes whenever you want to. So it's going to be great for us. So Rick says the fancy chair bed should be named after Shane Matthews. Well, that should be named after some of the big dudes we just took like 10 or 15 minute naps, but if you go back to our locker rooms, boy, it was bad. We had like a wooden stool you had to sit on. All right, let's talk about the Georgia Bulldogs, Brent. What's going on up in Athens?
Well, I'll throw out some names here real quick. They had a scrimmage on Saturday. Kirby trying to keep them from being complacent after winning the national championship, was not happy with the energy, enthusiasm, and leadership of the defense. Now, he did say Malaki Starks, a freshman safety, was all over the field. He did say that Branson Robinson and Andrew Paul, freshman running backs, did a little bit better than he thought. Tyke Smith, the West Virginia transfer, is doing okay. He mentioned him. He's still wearing a bit of a knee brace. Also, their tight end room is just the best tight end room anywhere. And Oscar Delp, who's a freshman now, it looks really good, along with Darnell Washington, along with Brock Bowers. It just keeps going on and on. Now, they do have a few injuries. Arian Smith is out, wide receiver. Kendall Milton, the wide running back, has a hamstring. Tate Ratledge, offensive lineman, has been limited with a turf toe. Never had a turf toe, Shane, but I've heard those things are painful. You may have.
Yes.
Now, here's an amazing scrimmage note that came up this week. 7 SEC players had 1,000 receiving yards last year. Georgia has not had a wide receiver go for 1,000 yards in the seasons since Terrence Edwards in 2002. Shane, how is that possible?
Well, you had a stat not too long ago about the same thing for Florida. What year did we go back on that? I can't remember what year it was.
Right. Well, but the point is, we thought we'd never see Florida and Georgia at a time to where as many good receivers, as you noted earlier, who have come from there, that they have not had a 1,000-yard receiver in years.
Yeah, that's crazy. Brent, we kept you way too long. Give us some nuggets before we get you out of here.
Well, the big thing, obviously, this week is Miles Brennan no longer being at LSU. I'm curious your thoughts on that. Now, if he would have played this year, it would have been his 6th year. And he tore a abdominal muscle. You may have had that injury too, but he tore that, and that really impacted his career very much. So, and my understanding is he was running third team anyway. So now they've got Garrett Nussmeier, who actually has an ankle injury. But Jaden Daniels, the transfer from Arizona State, has been the guy who has been impressive. Now, I hope you're sitting down here, but Brian Kelly actually had an open practice yesterday where fans and players, fans and media could come watch them practice. So I wish a few more SEC coaches would do the same thing. Brady Cook's the new Missouri quarterback. They have named him to that position. Also, Lane Kiffin, still trying to figure out who the quarterback is between Jackson Dart and Luke Altmaier. Now, I'm sure you've talked about this week, but this is just Lane to a T. They asked him about their new punter. His name is Charlie Pollock. He's 6'1", 250. 250 for a punter, Shane. Said they found him at a keg party. Is where they found him. So I thought that was Lane Kiffin in a nutshell right there.
Yeah, Joseph brings up a good point here, Brent, regarding your 1,000-yard receivers at Georgia. He says, but how many first-round running backs that rushed for over 1,000 yards came from Georgia in that time?
Yeah, well, and that's a good point. I mean, look, and let's be honest. I mean, they will tell you they're run first, although they can get the ball down the field. And it's going to be interesting, besides Stetson Bennett, who's going to get more action at quarterback. So that's another situation. Luke Doty at South Carolina, Shane Beamer praised him. He's the backup quarterback who had to play a lot last year. Obviously, Spencer Rattler is in there, and I think sometimes the reason that happens, coaches mention the backup, is to keep them from transferring. One more real quick. Brew McCoy, who's a wide receiver transfer at Tennessee, is probably their best wide receiver right now. But the problem is he's got some eligibility questions. and they really can't play him until that is figured out. So and also A&M trying to figure it out between Haynes King and Max Johnson. So still, I know we're close to game, Shane, but there's still a bunch of questions left to answer in the SEC.
No doubt about it. And next week, when is the first game next week? Is it Thursday night or Friday or Saturday?
Next week will be week 0, and the first game will be Saturday. I will double check that. There could be some lower division game that plays on Friday or so, but yes, week 0 will start it, and then we go from there.
Yep, no doubt about it. Good stuff as always, Brent. We appreciate your time. Have a good week, and we'll talk to you next week.
You too, Shane. Thanks much.
That's Brent Beaird, our college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter. Join us on the Titan More Hotline. Take a time out, come back, get to a lot of these texts and Facebook Lives you're watching and listening to Pod Up, Matthews, and more.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogra State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit podupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Points, where the Gators go to celebrate, with premium brands like Escape Apology, Sushi Hana, Regal Cinemas, Kilwins, Le Macaron, Prime and Pearl, and the HBC's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, where every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 2:30, you can get the hottest brunch in town. We'll see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. Tomorrow we'll have JC back. We'll also have Kevin Brockway join us from he covers the Gators from the Gainesville Sun. Also starting during maybe next week or the following week, every Wednesday, we'll have JC at the beginning for about 20 minutes. We'll have Mike Morgan from the SEC Network will be joining us. He'll be brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. And so we'll have Mike throughout the entire football season on Wednesdays after JC. So that should bring a lot to the program. Looking forward to having Mike on. He's a former Gator, does a tremendous job calling football, baseball, and basketball in the conference. We've had him on here many times. So looking forward to that. This Day in Sports, which is brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business, peace of mind, our promise. Beat the summer heat. Schedule your air conditioners tune up today, keeping you chill in the Florida heat far away. Comfort Temp Heating and Air. Call us today, 352-376-2366. This Day in Sports In 2016, Jamaica's Usain Bolt wins the gold medal in the men's 200 for the third consecutive Summer Olympics, recording a time of 1978. I don't know if that's still a world record, if that's a world record or what, but that dude could fly. And that's brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Tim. Let me get to my Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. Again, starting next week, JC will be with us on Wednesdays. We'll do all our picks, whether it's golf, football we can do on Wednesdays of Thursday night games, and then Fridays, obviously, for the weekends. But my Peachland Dentistry weekend picks for the BMW Championship, for the FedEx playoffs. I'm taking Justin Thomas, Max Homa, and Victor Hovland, those three. So we'll see how that all pans out. But yeah, if you're a golf fan, check out what happened for Patrick Reed is suing Golf Channel and Brandel Chambly because they hurt his feelings over the last few years. Poor guy. He's a piece of crap. I usually don't say that about people, but dude, he whines. Like I said, he's been caught cheating in a PGA Tour event. He got kicked out of college. I forgot which college it was because he was cheating. And so, anyway, that's your news and notes from the PGA Tour. At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Next week, as Brent said, that is week 0. Florida State plays. So we'll talk a little about the semis. They played Duquesne. I don't even know if that game's on TV, but we're right around the corner. Like I said, we are 17 days away. I got a text on the Titan More text line from somebody. John says, 17th greatest player for Gators is Noah Brandeis. Big Noah. Fat dog, they called him back in the day. Johnny Nichols, Emmett's high school quarterback, was a 4-year letterman as a holder wearing number 17 for the Gators. And then Greg asked me here, did I see the comments from Carlos Alvarez? I did not, Greg. Not sure what Carlos had to say. Maybe we can talk about that tomorrow because we're running out of time today, but maybe I can pull it up somewhere. But yeah, the best 17 that I can think of would be Riche Caldwell. I don't think anybody else. I want to say Zach Carter wore 17 early in his career. He's with the Bengals now. I don't know how that's going. But we got some preseason football tonight. As I said, the Bears travel to play Seattle. And not sure what to make of the Bears. I'm not a Justin Fields guy. I don't know if he can be an everyday starter at a high level in the National Football League, but time will tell. And then we got a lot of NFL games. Well, we got 3 on Friday and a ton on Saturday. Teams got to start cutting down. The more I think about the Jaguars, man, I think they're going to have a pretty good team. I just think Doug Peterson's a tremendous football coach. He's going to help Trevor Lawrence tremendously because he's played the position. He's been on the sidelines for many, many years in the National Football League. When you have that relationship with a guy that knows what it takes, has been in the heat of the battle, I just think it goes a long ways. So Greg said Carlos wants current Gator players to give NIL money to ailing ex-players. Interesting. I have not heard that. We'll have to dive more into that tomorrow. Toby says Vandy plays Hawaii on August 27th. All right. Well, that will do it for today's program. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you tomorrow, folks. Take care.